What rules were created just because of you? Not me, but my high school required that all valedictorians give a copy of their speech to the school board for approval. My class wrote a satirical one about how American prisons were a better option than going in debt for college and getting a job. School board hated it and told him to write a traditional one. He writes the cheesiest, most stereotypical speech he could think of. He was also an ESL student and his parents spoke an Arabic language. Don't remember specifically which one. At home, he gets up at graduation and reads the entire speech 3 times in Arabic. Now my brother tells me they say all speeches must be approved in the language they will be spoken in. I used to ride a unicycle around my school's gym all the time because while they specifically banned skateboards, bikes, roller skates, and even those heelys things, they never mentioned unicycles. They had to go through the whole official rule changing process to add unicycles to the rule book. Not me, but the intro to engineering class at UCF has a competition where groups must create a self-powered boat to race an orange around the circumference of the reflection pond. The pond is maybe 100 feet in diameter. One year one group used a lawnmower engine to power their boat, and the same year a group used bottle rockets. Upon starting the race, the lawnmower group's boat tipped over in the middle and poured gasoline into the pond. At the same time the other group lit their bottle rockets, which promptly ignited the spilled gasoline and set the pond on fire. They created a new rule after that year: no gasoline powered boats. At some summer thing Texas A&M did to try and attract students. I didn't end up going there. There was little mini engineering contest where you had to construct a 4-wheeled vehicle that would go the farthest, using an assortment of MacGyver-ish materials, including a balloon, some tape, a mousetrap, paper clips, tacks, things like that, and like 4 Lego wheels and 2 axles. My group argued for a while, and honestly, we wouldn't have had anywhere near the best contraption if not for my last minute inspiration of rule loophole exploitation, which apparently I'm better at than actual engineering. No one said all 4 wheels couldn't be on the same axle, and there was no strict definition of vehicle. 4 Lego wheels on 1 axle, flung by the mousetrap, 25 feet, beat second place by almost double, I think. Our team won TI-89s, each. That's not ruler breaking, that's just dang good engineering. My sister got a pair of toy earrings at the doctor's office and promptly stuck them up her nose so deep that they were lost forever. After that, the doctor's office only gave out stickers. When I was in middle school, the dress code stated that every boy must wear a shirt with a collar. I decided to buy a really cheap collar shirt and cut the collar off and then wear t-shirts to school with it clipped on. Soon the school made one-piece collar shirts mandatory. No Marine in the company is allowed to perform marriage ceremonies for other Marines. In high school, the student council was sponsoring a food drive to boost donations. Some teachers offered extra credit for every item a student brought in. Being the smart ass I am, I decided to buy $40 worth of ramen noodles at $0.12 a piece. That's about 300 packages. I did minimal work for the rest of the semester and ended up with a 125% in the class. The principal was not pleased and banned extra credit forever. That's why, at my high school, any teacher who offered extra credit like that had a cap. You could bring in as many tissue boxes, canned items etc as you wanted, but you'd only get up to 10 extra credit points. My friends and I played a round of poker and lunch in high school. Naturally we didn't have much cash, so we started betting things like the future virginity of the hot chicks and 1/2 of our soul. Fast forward to the guy who won 1/2 of the soul. He decided to put it on eBay. 2 days later CNN did a piece on eBay selling intangible goods and they featured our 0.5 soul in the promo. The next day eBay announced that souls were no longer acceptable items. I remember that story. I was 14 at the time, 25 now. Back then I pirated movies via Hotline. I decided to set up my own server. Access was not entirely free, however. You had to go to my mock website, click on a banner for an adult revenue service, sign up, and on the final sign up page, look for these 2 words, which are the login and password. Each time someone did this, I got $20. I got a check from the company for about $400 before they caught on and removed my account. After that they changed their terms so that a person had to be an active member for a month before they gave the referral the $20. My mom was very confused when I got a $400 check with dozens of websites all over the envelope. After I explained, she thought it was amazing and hilarious and we cashed the check. A retail store I worked for changed the call in sick policy because I cut my foot and they made me come to work. The stitches split, and I left a blood trail wherever I went for a solid 5 minutes. Now, stitches are an acceptable reason not to come to work. When I was 9 years old, my friend and I did nothing but play outside all day and build all sorts of wooden forts and tree houses. We got pretty handy with our tools and our projects got bigger and bigger. One day we found 4 good-sized trees about 6 feet apart from each other in a rough square just a stone's throw from the neighborhood park. We decided to build the mother of all forts by making a platform in the middle of those trees about 6 feet off the ground. It had 2 feet, walls around the sides and a sturdy ladder and eventually a second level above the first. This was a fairly small neighborhood and everyone knew everyone else, so all the grown-ups with kids came to check it out, and after a few modifications it was deemed safe enough, and for a few weeks all the neighborhood kids would play in and around it. We felt like kings. Then one day we came home from school and it was absolutely destroyed. Apparently the county somehow got wind of it and its proximity to the playground and sent some guys out with chainsaws to demolish it. We were heartbroken. They told our parents that from then on we weren't allowed to build anything anymore because the county could maybe be held liable in case someone got hurt. We gathered up our scraps, said frick the police, and moved further into the woods and out of sight and built an even better one and several backups just in case. In hindsight, I'm 30 now. I can understand why it needed to be done, but all those years ago it seemed like the greatest tragedy ever. I've always wanted to build a tree house, but living in India makes it rather hard to do since none knows what a tree house is. In my high school we had a German language competition that was hosted at different hotels over the years. One of them had balconies for every room, and my friends and I discovered the wonder of hopping between them in order to get to someone's room. Because, you know, opening the door and walking was very difficult for us rowdy teenagers. Well, some of my friends decided to remove all the smaller furniture in one room thinking it was one of ours. It wasn't. Those people were not happy. Needless to say, the hotel ended up posting a bunch of signs, and the security waivers you have to sign for the competition added no jumping between balconies every year after. We were stupid kids. I don't consider it to be my fault, but I actually got D&D banned at my school after some less than intelligent person saw one of our lunchtime games in the library and complained about Satanism. I had to go through 3 weeks of counselor sessions just because I made my voice deep and booming when I DM'd. My freshman year in college I lived in a dorm with a large courtyard in the center. We collectively had a large water balloon fight. One of the girls slipped and cut her arm open pretty deep and we had to call 911. The new rule my dorm made was no water balloon fights indoors. I go to a private school with a dress code, and because of me, chainmail is no longer an acceptable form of undershirt. At my old high school, now in uni, math class tests now start with the disclaimer all answers must be written in Arabic numerals. But they didn't say you have to give them in base 10. Time to answer in pencil. My story is not one of badassery but rather an example of thinking outside the box. In my high school physics class, we had fun doing the physics Olympics after AP tests were done and our lesson plan was complete. One of the events was seeing how many paper clips you could remove from a bin using 2 AA batteries, copper wire, 2 nails, and tape. The logic was to make an electromagnet, but after reading the rules and talking with the teacher, nowhere did it explicitly say that you had to make an electromagnet. I proceeded to make a shovel using the batteries as the handle, the nails as supports for the wire and tape bucket, and reinforced it all with tape. My group got the all-time record for that event with around 1150 paper clips picked up in 30 seconds. We picked up over 900 more than the closest competitor. Needless to say, the rules explicitly state to make an electromagnet now, but no one will touch my group's record. I play the tuba. I'm Mexican. And back in high school, my mostly Caucasian school was playing the mostly ethnic school on the other side of town. From where I resided, I was bused to the rich school on the better side of town. I and my other Mexican friend who played the trumpet decided it would be a good idea to play the Mexican hat dance. Needless to say, we had many letters and parents to respond to. Rules have been changed on our district games on what's acceptable sportsmanship and pep band songs to be played. Not so much a rule, but my senior year of high school, I had completed the minimum requirements to graduate, but we were only allowed to have one free period. Instead of taking a class I didn't want to, I created my own Bull's Child Development class, where I volunteered at the preschool next door 3 days a week, and had the other 2 off. 7 years later, the class still exists, but has a legit curriculum associated with it now. I'm sure I am not the only reason, but when I was about 7 or so I was in the Miami airport, and back then the emergency stop button for escalators was at the bottom right by the entrance. I was young, saw a button and couldn't resist the urge to kick it while it was very packed. Well, it was full of senior citizens that kept telling each other to stand still because it could come back on at any second. That was that for about 15 minutes, blocking the only entrance to the airport. Next year all the buttons had a plastic cover. With or without a life jacket, no one is to sleep in the hot tub. When I was in elementary school, I got a bunch of kids to wear shorts in the winter with me. I live in Canada. Most of us got mild frostbite on our legs. Now no one can wear shorts in the winter. First year of uni, my friend bought a sofa and armchair from eBay. $4.99 Inkle delivery. Best purchase ever. He managed to fit both of them in his tiny room. Once the university found out, they didn't like it, so they told him to get rid of them. He said no. He managed to keep them till the end of the year. He put them in storage, and the following September he brought them to his new, even smaller room. Only the sofa fit, so I got the armchair. Again, the university didn't like it. They sent us both very official letters giving us 30 days to remove the furniture. We printed off the entire residency agreement and read it page by page, every word, to see if there was anything forbidding us from having them. There wasn't. They had their fire tags. They didn't block any exits. The only possible problem was if it interfered with the cleaner's job. We asked her. She was fine with it. Our rooms were the last on the rota, so she'd sometimes sit and talk with us after she was finished. Anyway, so after 30 days we got another letter saying that they knew we still had the furniture, and we would be fined. We printed off all the documentation we needed, suited up, and went to the office to argue our case. After several months they managed to convince the cleaner to say the furniture interfered, so we actually had to get rid of them. Our friend took them to his house. The following year we weren't in university halls anymore, but we checked the residency documentation on their website, where we noticed the guidelines for furniture were now much more specific about what you could and couldn't have in your room. 4 years later, he still has those sofas. I don't know for certain, but I feel pretty confident that I had the flow of traffic at a certain intersection in town changed. There was a very wide shoulder on the road that I used as a right turning lane, only to be immediately pulled over by a policeman for passing about 5 cars on the shoulder while they waited for the traffic signal. I counted the idea to him that the shoulder there actually was a lane. There was a dividing line and it was nicely paved. No reason for us not to use this space for making right turns. Although no one used it, I really was passing traffic on the shoulder but being very cautious. About 3 months later, the intersection is repainted with the shoulder as a right turn only lane. It felt great, seeing as it does help the traffic flow better at that crowded intersection. If you must bite the plaster in the art room, please at least have a justified reason for doing so. In case you're wondering, it tasted delicious. Sounds like a justified reason if I ever heard one. My German teacher banned us from say the mayonnaise in German because every question she would ask us, that's what we would reply with. In German class, every answer, regardless of question freshman year, ich spiele Gitter. You have been visited by the extremely rare green beanie Sarah meme. Like this video in the next 7 seconds and you will be blessed with non-itchy beanie head this winter. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.